G'day, guys. Welcome back to this episode. I am going to try and work on the the copper grates to put around the outside. In digging out the slime farm area just over there, I managed to dig up a whole heap and I've got it currently smelting. And to do that, I built a very crude, what you call quote unquote super smelter. It's not perfect. It doesn't, it's not fizz bang, but it does the job. Simple. There's 16 altogether. Comes down to this is what I got so far, and it's just burning down the last sort of amounts as we go. So this hopefully won't take too long to do. And in doing that, I made some heap of scaffolding, which is probably more than I'll ever need. But that's what I got from a harvest of what do you call that stuff to make it, and string from the mob farm, which I haven't shown you yet. So that's the plan for this part. But in the meantime, wanted to talk about today is a general topic of Dungeons and Dragons and TTRPGs or tabletop role playing games. Now, I have not made any notes, so it's probably not going to be. It's probably to my own detriment that I do that, but I just prefer to keep it very simple. So I'm not sure. I'm sure most people are aware what Dungeons and Dragons is, a tabletop role playing game. Role playing being the operative word in that it's descriptive, it's storytelling, and that's what I kind of like about it as well. There are like a number of rules regarding it and number of editions. Now, as far as I'm aware, D&D has been out for about 50 years. So, well, actually, it is. It had its 50th anniversary. When was it? Was it last year or something like that? So I think it was last year. It had its 50th anniversary. So it's been around for 50 years, and it's gone through a whole bunch of controversies, iterations, versions, and controversies as well. And one of the most interesting things about it is when it was pretty prominent back in the 70s and early 80s, there was a number of I don't know what you'd call it, like hysteria regarding that it was death cults and things like that, because it had in Dungeons and Dragons, like most TTRPGs, has demons and monsters and things like that, and some parents and people who weren't really aware of how the game worked at the time. Wow, that's going to take forever. Let's share this out a bit. They created a number of panic stories because I believe there was a kid that committed suicide or something similar to that back in the day, and he wasn't very well kid, and I think mum, as a Christian group or some sort of group along that, found notes and anyway. It's a very dark topic and probably not worth going too much into because I don't know everything about it. You can YouTube D&D original, death cult or whatever they wanted to call it back in the day, and go from there. But Dungeons and Dragons isn't the only one. There's a whole plethora of role playing games. So when I talk about Dungeons and Dragons, I'll pop in a few ones other as well. And I remember seeing Dungeons and Dragons books when I was a kid at the shops, and I truly wish I'd got the books because I've always had an interest in it, always wanted to play, but never really did, never bought it, never fully understood it. And even as an adult, when I started working in my early 20s, I started buying the Dungeons and Dragons books, but I still didn't play for probably another 10, 15 years. Maybe 10 years, 15, yeah, about 10, 15 years after that. So I don't think I played my first actual real game of Dungeons and Dragons until I was sort of in my mid-30s. So I guess that was 10 years ago now. But it was, no, gosh, it'd have to be 15 years ago now. So probably early 30s. But where is all this coming from? Wow, there is a lot in here. Let's spread it out some more. So yeah, I sort of played it on and off since then, and back then the edition of Dungeons and Dragons was 3.5. So D&D first started out in 1979, I believe, with the original D&D, and then it went through a D&D Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and a number of different iterations similar to that. And yeah, so I remember as a kid seeing the original AD&D in the shops when I went, but not knowing much about it. All right, this is going to take forever. Let's go start with what we've got and we'll come back. And yeah, so that was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and it went through a number of different things after that. And I believe there was third edition, which I never really saw. And the first books I bought was 3.5, and I think that was somewhere around 2004, 2003. I may have bought around 2004. I think I bought the books back in the day. Um, Now, can I get up there? Because I can move around without having to scaffold everywhere, which I hate because as good as scaffolding is, it's a major pain in the ass. So yeah, I bought the 3.5 rule books back in the day, read them, never played it. Kind of wish I had, but I didn't. So it is what it is. But I bought them. Then came out fourth edition. Again, I don't remember the year, but I think it was, if I had to guess, I think it was around 2008 ish, somewhere around there. So I bought the fourth edition books from there and bought a couple of different modules and all different adventures and campaigns because I'm more of a collector. I remember, as I said, back in the day, seeing the AD&D books originally and just thinking, I wish I'd bought them because just for to have, because they're so cool and they're also quite expensive now, even to buy secondhand copies that are been in people's collections off eBay and everything else. Could cost you $100, $200 depending on what country you're in and what you're buying. Had the dream of always playing. So I bought the fourth edition books and kept buying a number of different, but not a lot, because obviously well, at the time I didn't have a lot of money to spare. I wasn't the best of my money at the time, as most people aren't. But then fifth edition came out in, I don't know when, maybe let's say 8 years ago, something like that. I don't remember. And I remember I bought the fifth edition books. No. Yeah, I bought the fifth edition books and played from there. Now, I'm just thinking maybe I got the 2008 date wrong before, but take it all as a grain of salt. Research on your own if you really need to know the dates. But the fourth edition came out, then I bought the fifth edition books, and I did play a fourth edition game, with my former family members and some friends where I used to live, and I ran as a DM because no one else sort of wanted to do it, and I kind of like DMing, but also kind of want to be a player because there is a phrase of forever DMing, and that sort of always ended up being me, which I didn't mind because I like running it, but I also don't have the best memory for rules, and I struggle to remember all the different rules and everything else. I hope I didn't make too many of these and waste all my copper, but we'll figure it out. So yeah, I played that for a while and loved it. It was good fun. And yeah, so then D&D 2024 edition came out. And obviously, that one's easy to remember because it came out in 2024, which they marked all the books as the 50th anniversary. So 1974 it first started, I guess. And so yeah, with those books and with the 2024 edition, they changed the rules slightly, but it's what they call backwards compatible. You obviously know what they are, what that means if you're savvy enough to be watching Minecraft videos. And could be used with the previous 5th edition rules. I try to buy the 5th edition modules and books and campaign settings when I can. I don't usually read them, I flick through them, I love them. But again, just to collect, because, if they never do anything in their life, that's okay, but I like to collect them. And I do flick through them and read stuff occasionally, which is pretty cool. But I also like to collect, so there's other ones as well. So, other TRPGs, which I don't play, but I sort of want to start collecting, like Pathfinder. Now, Pathfinder, I believe, started as a copy, or not a copy, but a similar concept game-wise to the D&D 3.5 edition rules that I mentioned before. I don't know the exact reasons. I think it was just more people liked the rule set, but there's a lot of things with the way D&D was being run. I'm not sure when Wizards of the Coast took over it, but there's been a lot of dislike with Wizards of the Coast and how they run D&D and the books, and controversies in the last couple of years with the open gaming license, which essentially means people's ability to write their own campaigns, modules, rules, and things like that with it. I think Wizards tried to stop that and take ownership of anything that was created, which means that if you created a rule set for D&D, they technically owned it, and you couldn't really make any money off it without their permission. There was a huge backlash. You can read and see all about that. I think at the time, since then, no longer is an issue because I think they realised how much they messed up with trying to do that. But anyway, I went off track. So Pathfinder was created back in the day with 3.5 edition rules. So I've never played Pathfinder. I only recently just bought the rule books in what they call the Pathfinder 2nd Edition Remastered, which is just a current set of updated rules, I guess, for 2nd Edition Pathfinder, which again works with everything 2nd Edition. I just like the updated ones, and they've sort of recently, I think there's an RPG called Starfinder, which is created by Paizo, which has created Pathfinder, and there's a new edition, 2nd edition of that out. And whilst I'll probably never play it, I will buy the books just for having them, which is pretty cool. Do that, but also like I like to collect other RPGs, even though I don't play them as much or at all. Like there's a really cool one called Mouse Guard, which a friend bought me the original box set 8 years ago as a thank you present for running the D&D group, back and 4th edition group, the game that we played. And there is an updated set of that, which I have bought myself since. But it's just, it's a cool concept of, these worlds where that one, for example, imagine mice and out in the fields and everything like that. And mice are, like humans, I guess, in a way. Whether humans exist in the world, I don't know, but it's the context of animals. So mice have these cities all throughout the place, and they have what's called the Mice Guard. So imagine knights and, heroes and things like that, and that's what the Mouse Guard are. They're just simple mice that have different roles, and they, guard mail routes from foxes and snakes and otters and all different sorts of bigger animals. There's everything bigger as a potential threat. So it's such a cool concept, and I would love to play it one day. But as I said, I struggle with my memory is not great. So unless I play something practically continually, I don't sort of pick it up very well. And I've tried watching videos, but unfortunately, things like that, there's not a great deal of really good traditional simple how to play videos on those sorts of concepts. So yeah, but there's other RPGs. Like I got one called Gaslands Refuel, which is a pretty cool concept where you take Matchbox cars, and movies and games like Death Race, for example. I guess that's pretty similar to that because you have these cars and you build them up with weapons and you race them and target and destroy other cars and all those different sorts of cool things. Really cool concept. Really cool. And if you play it, you can buy the Matchbox cars and you can paint them and do different things like that. But you got also things like Warhammer. So Warhammer 40k and Age of Sigmar. Always been interested in Warhammer. I remember in the late 90s, I first came across it and really wanted to play. But the problem with Warhammer is it comes across as it is very overwhelming. The rules I think are quite complicated and changing all the time. People are very passionate about it, and it's one of those games where it is very gatekeepery. If you're not, I'm gonna have plenty of these things. If you're not in with it or up with it, I think you can be left out quite easily, which is unfortunate. One thing I've noticed though is lately, or over the past few years, it is becoming a lot more accessible. There's a lot more beginner-friendly videos, tutorials, how to play online when it comes to that sort of stuff. But one of the major real-life factors, obviously, with Warhammer is the expense. It is an expensive hobby. And one of the biggest hobby factors of that game is painting of the miniatures. Excuse me. Excuse me for that. Which is a whole other world in its own. Because you've got painting tutorials, and I'm interested in it, but I don't know if I have the patience to do that sort of stuff. let alone the artistic ability. I mean, you see how much I struggle with Minecraft builds, but it's still a fascinating, awesome concept and something I would love to do, but also very time consuming. How do you fit? How do you fit any of these sorts of hobbies if you have similar ones like that into your life, like with full time job, family commitments, just rest time, expenses, money, bills, everything else? How do you do it? I mean, there are people that go to the pubs and clubs and sit on pokies forever and a day. Sure, you can find the time to do anything you really want to do. And I think you can always manage it successfully so it doesn't take over or, oh my gosh, I forgot that I do need to do all these as well. Ugh. All right, I have to go back around. So yeah, absolutely. You can do all that sort of stuff. But how do you find the time to do it? Because I think I would absolutely struggle. I know I would struggle. I feel guilty enough now sitting and playing Minecraft, even though it's pretty much the only thing I really played. I did download Space Warhammer. Still talking to Warhammer, I did download Space Marines 2 the other day and started playing that. It's I'm terrible at these games. It's why I don't download a lot of them and play them. But I love the concept. And if it gets to a point where I've got to spend hours and learn massive finger breaking combinations to get through a level, then I just stop playing because it doesn't interest me. I'm more for the fun, the cinematics, the story. So yeah, judge me as you will with that sort of stuff. But yeah, so that's I don't know, how do you what do you play and how do you find the time balance wise with these things in your life? And what specifically do you play any of these games? Do you have any experience with them and things like that? Tell me, because not everyone might be from. This is from an Australian experience as well, and I think okay, this is going to be a problem. I think we struggle in Australia with we don't have the luxury of other countries where all this stuff is readily available. It's expensive for us more so than others. We it takes forever to get things here, and it really is quite expensive and prohibitive for Australians to do. So I don't know. I would love to get in and do it, but I guess just money. I mean, I get concerned and I get worried that I'm should be spending money on better things. But at the same time, like I don't do anything stupid. I don't sit at the pub for hours on end at the pokies, for example. And I think in life, if we keep these things in check and we do things in moderation and responsibly, then who cares? I know, no, I know my wife wouldn't have any issue with me doing things like that. And so the only real thing preventing me from doing it is myself. So yeah, maybe one day, maybe because I'm what am I 46 now, so I've still got plenty of time to do this stuff. And I think it is easier as you get older to find the time to do these things. Whereas when you're younger and you're younger parents and your life is still with a lot more social and family commitments. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool. How does that look? Got one side done, but I need to do. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. I need to do down here as well, and these ones. I just realised. So yeah, what do you do? That you. Oh my gosh, that you might struggle with. That relates to what I was talking about. Am I talking out of my ass or what? So okay, that was too high. Okay, back. I had a bit of a coughing fit then, so I had to step away very quickly. So one of the things I find hardest, and I briefly covered this when it comes to D&D or any of those sorts of games, whether you play with friends, is that as you get older or any time in adult life, it is so difficult to manage times to get together. It's one of the biggest and hardest parts of playing D&D is finding people that you can regularly and consistently meet because D&D is one of those things that needs to be sort of constantly played. Now, there's no strict schedule. It can be once a week, once a month, twice a week. Doesn't matter. Whatever suits your thing. And the good thing about D&D is that a story or campaign can last anywhere from an hour to years. There really is no rules. It's whatever suits you and your friends and so forth. But the true beauty in D&D, in my opinion, is the long running character building, the creation, the world building, and things like that. And it is very difficult to find time as adults with other adults to do that. Have you ever tried? In some aspect, you would have tried it, and it is very difficult and very frustrating to do. So it's just I thought I'd just mention that because it's a funny part of real first world problem, I guess. And if that's what we have to worry about, we have no real problems. But it's frustrating. So I just thought I'd talk about that generally. But let me know what you think and if you have any similar experiences or game systems that are like that. I am going to keep doing this and I'll be back when I finished. Now, when it comes to D&D and other RPGs, in person is the most, I guess, common or was the most common, my preferred method as well, because you can do a lot of it online, especially when COVID was around and things like that, and people had to stay at home. And it was around before that a little bit anyway, but it exploded more during those periods where you could play online with people, you could find groups online. That suits some people, it doesn't suit me. I much prefer the social aspect, in person social aspect of it, where you can have a group of people talking or sitting around talking, having snacks and a beer or a drink or whatever else. And some part of the experience is just laughing and having fun and being around your friends and family. It gets annoying when, you go to meet up for a game and it becomes more about mucking around. You don't get much gameplay in, but that's something that bothers me as an individual. And I find the same because I love board games, and I have a large collection of board games which I just adore. But I haven't bought it in a while because they're super expensive, and I don't have a lot of people that I like to play board games with. A lot of friends that even have the time. Going back to timing and schedules, I like all sorts of board games, but I really love the long storytelling cooperative ones, or the hidden role bluffing ones like werewolf and things like that. I don't have a lot of people that are interested in playing those things. And it's difficult because but with the online thing for D&D and any TTRPG, you can do it. It's just not for me. I don't find that enjoyable. I can honestly say I've never actually tried it, but it's not something I ever really. And I would try it if there was oops, and I don't know, I just want to build this one up. If there was you know, a time for it, a need for it, an experience to do with it, but it's not something I would actively seek to do. I'd much rather do it in person. You know, um, there are clubs, and you can go to. There's gaming clubs in most places. There's even gaming clubs near where I live, and you could find people to play D&D with. And this is going to make me sound like a real, whinger and a snob, but to me, it's just an ongoing experience with people I regularly want to know and get to hang out with, because it's not something I want to jump into willy nilly from week on, week out with random different people. It's not something I really enjoy. So I would prefer to do it more long term with friends. So I need to get up here. So yeah, that's just my opinion of that. Take it as you will, and as I said from the very beginning, most of this stuff is my opinion. You don't have to agree with it, but that's my opinion when it comes to it. Ugh, I don't know if I'm gonna have enough here. Actually, I very much doubt I will. So, yeah, that's what I think about. I'd rather not play in person. Will if need be. I have gone to, there's a couple of different places that do it, but there's a pub near where I live that has it every week, and it's based on a Westworld's camp. I haven't even done these ones. Wow. And Westworld's campaign style, which is one that I absolutely love, is one where people can come in and out of, with the time constraints I talked about before, where you might not be able to come some weeks, don't matter, because the world is built up by the actions of everybody in the group. Imagine a big MMO that everyone can jump on the computer and just play randomly and grow the world. But it's sort of the similar concept. And I love the concept. And I'd love to do that with my own gaming group that plays together regularly, because that means that people who couldn't play 1 week because of the work or family or whatever else don't necessarily miss out, can jump in and out of campaigns in different, and while they have long running campaign story arches and things like that, it's more about the weekly or sessions encounters and games that really matter. It's sort of hard to describe, but that's a concept that I really would like to get into, because it doesn't matter if people can and can't make it on a day or week. And this pubs and a lot of other venues run similar sorts of things. What I don't like about that is that it's, and this is just a personal thing, I don't think they do anything wrong or they do it the wrong way. They'll have like Discord servers where people post stories and memories and logs from around the world in character, which is perfect and exactly the way it works. I would struggle with that with people I don't regularly know or a world I don't have an invested interest in. But I would love to do it with my own friends. Have a world that we grow ourselves consistently for years on end, and have a massive world. Imagine having your own Middle Earth, your own protagonists, your villains, your stories, your overarching histories, all done because you've played the game and it's been developed through the game. See, that fascinates me. So that's the way I would prefer to do it. I should mention there is going to be a really cool one. If you haven't heard of Welcome to Night Vale is a podcast, fantasy fiction podcast, obviously, and it is so weird, strange, and abstract that I love it. It is a fictional town in fictional America where there's a dog park that it's illegal to talk about, to go into, to acknowledge it exists, and so many weird and wacky facets to this world. I can't go into it now, and I will write it down as a topic to talk about in a completely different episode. But the cool thing is, there's an RPG coming out, and it was on Kickstarter ages ago, which I backed. But obviously, you better buy it yourself at some point when it hits the shops. Based on that as well, and I cannot wait till that comes in, to the point where I've had to, there's a few hundred episodes of the Welcome to Night Vale podcast series. Each go for about 20 minutes or so. You have to watch it. Listen to it. Trust me, start at the beginning and you'll listen to it and you'll go, what the hell am I listening to? But you listen to it long enough, you go, this is so cool. But yeah, there's a cool RPG coming out based on it. Whether I ever play it, I don't know, but because I think it helps to have a knowledge and understanding of Night Vale and its idiosyncrasies and the world that it is, like the sheriff's secret police, the angels that nobody acknowledges as being real, but we all know are there type thing. The 5-headed dragon that is a council member and now mayor of the area. It's just incredible. Tamika Flynn, the 12-year-old, whatever, who's the head of the leader of an armed resistance. It's just the funniest thing you'll ever listen to, and to have an RPG based on it is going to be very cool. I went back briefly. This is all I have left. So if this doesn't make it way around, which no, my luck it won't, then I'm going to have to go just wait until I get more copper or go mining for it. I don't know. Wait and see what happens. Okay, so that is all the trapdoors put on. At least I had to go mining, and I got a few stacks of copper. Luckily, with fortune, it didn't take too much to. I didn't need that much to convert it into trapdoors, and you just saw the fly around. So that's pretty cool. I think it's looking good, and the roof is sort of aging fairly well. And yeah, the rest should go as it does it as it goes along as well. So I guess the next step when I come back to this, which I'm going to give it a break for a while, is working on an entrance here, making it some sort of look pretty but grand, but not too complicated as well. And you would have noticed I did a bit of a path here, which it goes up to the entrance to the hallway there into my storage area, which is in the mountain there. This is not perfect. It's just meant to be something to do because I was flying all the time, and I really like the idea of occasionally just walking everywhere sometimes. So yeah, next step for this is to do the entrance, and then eventually the extra stuff that I might want to add to it as I go along. No real plans, but we'll see how it goes. But I wanted to thank you for joining me again, and the regular episodes, they will continue as I see fit. But thank you very much for joining. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know what you do think in the comments, and we'll go from there. So have a good one. Bye.